Hi everyone, welcome back to this Sane and Serene YouTube channel. If you're new here, special welcome to you. I'm Saran from SaranSays.com, and on this channel I like to make videos about books, bodies, blackness, grit, gratitude, and goal setting. I usually tell it in a different order, but that's okay. Today we are reading, resourcing, and reviewing The Sins of My Parents by Ro Chidike. So I first found out about this book because one of my closest friends told me that we went to school actually with the author of this book. She graduated some years before us, but she is from Philadelphia like myself. She's a Black self-published author, and I was like, I have to support her. Plus, I heard that the book was amazing. My friend said that she couldn't put it down, so I decided to check it out, and I'm really excited today to share it with you all. So The Sins of My Parents is about a girl named Ro who first starts off the book by explaining the relationship that she has with her mother and her father. She talks about the experiences that her parents have had individually and together, the trauma that they've been through, a little bit about the background and how their life experiences and then subsequently their decisions as it relates to loving her and loving each other affects her as a woman, affects her identity, affects her sense of self and her esteem as it relates to how she shows up in the world. It's not clear how much of the story is actual truth versus how much may be fabricated or fluffed up, but it tells a really interesting story about how she then goes on to meet three other men between the ages of, I guess, like 14 and 22, 23, who changed the course of her life and really influenced not only the way that she sees herself, but the way that she sees the world. You know, in these relationships, she experiences social abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. I guess one could even assume sexual abuse in a way. And what she does is she breaks down how each of those relationships with those men allowed her to understand something about herself, which was that she was flawed in these ways because of her parents, right? It all goes back to how her experience of watching her mom, seeing her mom tolerate or, stand up for certain things, dealing with the absence of her father influenced how she loved, how she learned, and how she lived. In her first relationship that she had in high school with a longtime friend that she went to school with, she talks about how being a Black girl in a white environment in the school that she went to made her an indirect target to scrutiny and shame. She talked about how she created this person that she wanted to be and that she presented herself as a way to protect herself, as a way to guard herself from being hurt, from being traumatized, which was happening anyway, in an environment where she couldn't really be herself. She talks about how she developed quickly as a young girl and how she used those things as a way to define herself, as a way to create a shell of protection over her spirit so that she could exist peacefully, so that she could fit in, or better yet, so that she could stand out, right? Standing out and fitting in, right? We know what that's like in middle school and high school and adolescence, where we're trying to figure out that balance and we're really trying to find out who we are. And usually that's not when we find out who we are, but that's when we begin the journey of understanding fundamental truths about life that take us on in our journey. In her second relationship, Ro talks about how she had to understand identity and voice, using her voice as a way to advocate for herself, using her body as a way to hold space for other people, and finding that balance between wanting to be loved even when being loved hurt, right? Even when it was painful, still having the desire to be accepted and appreciated and valued by someone who maybe didn't even know how to accept and appreciate and value themselves. She talked about how she liked pain. She talked about how she began to understand pain as a way of love, to understand rejection and anger and abuse as a way of love, and as a way that she could know within herself that someone was loving her, that someone was desiring her, and how that gave her power in some way as a woman to have that control. I know me as a woman, I feel like I can relate to that story. I can relate to understanding love as passion and excitement, even if it was dark passion, even if it was painful excitement, it was love, right? And having to learn to let go of the unhealthy habits of attachment, of feeling like we don't deserve better and settling for less. She talks about a third boyfriend that she meets in college who she's learning to love in a new way. She's learning to love herself in a new way now that she's in this new environment, she's in this new chapter of life. And she talks about having to work through him being with someone else, her not knowing her true feelings for him, and eventually ending up getting pregnant by him and having to make a decision about what to do with that child. You know, she talks about deserving love and meeting someone who may be giving you the love that you deserve, but maybe not, and how ultimately it always comes back to the love that you give yourself, and how the love that you give yourself is a measure of the love that other people will give you. She talks about understanding that and understanding the truth of moving on beyond this story of trauma, graduating from the pain that was passed down generationally or from her parents, their absence or their presence in her life, and having to make a decision as a young adult to choose self, to choose love, to choose future, to choose growth, and the struggles that accompanied her on that journey. Ultimately, I think The Sins of My Parents is profound and meaningful because it's relatable to every child, every daughter, every mother. You know, the story that Ro shares here is one of truth, it's one of honesty, and it's one of, in a way, honestly, going back to go forward, understanding past and present in context for future, and making the decisions as an individual needed to excel in life and to excel beyond the pain that your life circumstances have caused you. That the hand that you were dealt, learning how to play that hand and win the game of life. Thank you all so much for tuning into this YouTube channel. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Peace, love, sanity, and serenity.